Welcome to Write Now Workshop Podcast, where you can write a book and change the world. I'm your host, Kitty Bucholtz, and this is episode 57, Fear, Protection, or Snare, an encouraging words episode coming to you on Sunday, April 29th, 2018. Now, if you've been listening for a little while, you know that I have just recently moved to Malmö, Sweden. Woohoo! I'm recording this on Saturday, and it has been exactly 2 weeks right this minute. Maybe not right this minute, right this afternoon. We've been here for 2 whole weeks, and it has been super duper amazing, exciting, fun, frustrating. I can't read anything. I'm literally illiterate. I can't read a menu. I can't read a street sign. I can't read a map, except for the map is pictorial. I can't read the directions on the laundry soap. Not only is it in Swedish, but it's in a total different way than I'm used to reading directions on how much laundry soap I need to use. So it's how many milliliters to add per kilogram of laundry I'm planning on putting in the machine for that load. I have no idea what that means. So I actually sent a Facebook message to a friend of a friend who, thankfully, someone introduced me to a friend of theirs who's also living in Sweden and has been here for a couple of years. And I'm like, okay, so what does this mean? And she wrote back, this is the kind of laundry soap I use, and this is how much I use of it, and it's liquid. And I'm like, okay, that just seems easier to me. There's a whole lot of things where I don't understand. It's taken us 2 whole weeks to figure out how to use the SIM cards that the company gave us for our phones. It's supposed to be a prepaid SIM card, but between having to put every single thing that's on the packaging through Google Translate, and then getting texts back from, the phone company saying, whatever that I didn't know, and then having to translate that and finding out that the translation was basically, you've done something wrong, please try again. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then thankfully, yesterday, some wonderful person who is also an American who recently came to work at this company in Sweden had created like a 4-page how-to guide complete with pictures. So I was like, thank you. Please give him a hug for me. So today we took our printout of this little 4-page guide and we went to the store where this guy bought his prepaid. I don't know. It's like a code. Basically, you pay money and you get a code and you put the code into your phone. And then it says, congratulations, you now have access through the phone system. And I'm like, oh, thank goodness. So there's a lot of really cool stuff going on, but there's also a lot of just work. I mean, the amount of paperwork that I've been doing, holy cow. I needed an encouraging words episode just to get me through just the numbers of pages of paper that I'm filling out and having to look things up and emailing people and saying, I don't really understand what this means. I don't know what it means even in English. So there's been a lot of things where, in addition to everything else that has also been going on in my life, there's a certain amount of more and more straws on the camel's back, and you're wondering at what point will this straw be the straw that breaks the camel's back? So I was looking actually at my Bible app this morning, and it has a verse from Proverbs 29. And the verse is verse 25. Fear of man will prove to be a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is kept safe. And I was thinking about that, and it kind of made me think about a whole bunch of other things that I haven't had time to think about as I try to figure out paperwork and laundry and how to use my phone. It made me think about the different people that I allow to make me feel fear. And I'm allowing it. Now, there are lots of ways where fear is a protection device. It's an automatic response that keeps us from getting killed. It's the sort of thing that keeps you still when you hear a rattlesnake's rattle if you're hiking through the desert, or that makes you jump back when you hear the sound of a car when you are about ready to cross the street, or, like lots of things. Fear is really good for you. It protects you, keeps you from getting killed or killing yourself or whatever. But there are a lot of ways in which it's also a snare. And just like it says in this Bible verse, fear of other human beings can be a snare for us if it means that we think that they have more power over our lives than God does. And the reason why this has been on my mind and not preying on me, but I've just been feeling really kind of rudderless lately. With all of the moving that we do for John's job and all of the immense amounts of paperwork that go with it, it just seems like most of the last 5 or 6 years of my life have been a little bit of writing, a little bit of doing my business, and an awful lot of packing, unpacking, doing paperwork now to leave, doing paperwork to go to a new place. Oh my gosh, I've done a lot of paperwork. I feel like I should get a job in administration, only that does not really sound fun to me because I'm already doing more paperwork than I want to do. But with this whole kind of feeling rudderless thing, it's made me wonder some things like, should I be afraid of the fact that because my career keeps starting and stopping all the time, I've gotten pretty much no momentum going, and the amount of income that I'm making is pitiful, honestly. Nobody wants to be honest about things that they find to be embarrassing. But if I'm going to be a podcaster sharing information that's helpful for you, I feel like the only thing that I can do is tell you the truth. And if you think, oh, well, if that's who she is, if that's how successful she is or isn't in my estimation, says the listener, then, I'm not going to listen to her anymore. She must not be very good at this whole writing thing if, she's not making enough money to pay her own rent. So, you know what? Nobody wants to think that somebody else is going to think that about them. And that's part of the reason why we don't talk about things like how much money we do or don't make or whatever. We all kind of want to look successful, right? But that is sort of part of the snare too. It's the fear of people not thinking that you are good enough. The fear that somebody is going to disrespect you or put you down. And in some cases, it's the fear that you're going to start believing those things about yourself too. But who are we? What are we doing with our lives and our talents? That is an individual question for every single person. And we can't let the fear of what other people think begin to make a big difference in how we look at ourselves. We do have to allow everybody else's thoughts about us to at least have enough effect for us to have a feel for, do I appear to be a kind and good person and generous and thoughtful to others? Well, this is how people react to me. So I'm probably doing fairly well in that area. I probably could do better. Do people trust me? Oh, they don't. Wow. Why? Well, maybe I should stop telling, everybody else's business or, be a better secret keeper. People can't confide in me because they know that I'm going to tell just one or two other people. Sometimes in the church, we find that gossips become gossips under the guise of, oh, you should pray for so-and-so. He really needs it because blah, 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 blah. When honestly, it should have been, please pray for so-and-so. He really needs it. Period. Full stop. Done. Don't talk anymore. So other people's opinions of us are helpful, but only to a degree. And so we just have to ask ourselves, how do I feel about myself? How much of that is colored by other people's feelings about me? How much of it is colored by what I think God thinks of me? I feel really blessed and a kind of an all the time sense of gratitude and relief that I believe that God really loves me and that he thinks I'm actually cool and funny and cute and that he likes spending time with me and that he has done an awful lot of things to make sure that I feel loved by him. I think that is the coolest, most wonderful thing ever because life is often hard enough and often lonely enough that just knowing that the entity that created me, that brought me into being, not only has a purpose for me, but he genuinely thinks I'm cool, which is pretty awesome. Now, he also has a lot of things. I know he has a list of some kind of all the things that he's like, you could be better at this, for instance. And, he's always growing me. And I like that. Sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm ready to grow more. Just please don't make it painful. Can we do this in a gentle, kind way? But fear is always a little bit coming into play. Like we're trying to decide, should I be fearful in this situation? Oh, no, this is a cool situation, nothing to be afraid of here. Or sometimes it's a matter of trying to choose, like, are you fearful or excited? Are you feeling this sense that is kind of, and it's positive, and so it's excitement, or it's negative, and so it's a little fearful. Like, I love speaking in front of people. So when I get that butterflies in my stomach feeling, it's actually kind of excitement. I kind of think of it a little bit like fear, in as much as, oh my gosh, I'm going to be standing in front of people, and what are they going to think? And, is my hair look okay? Do I have anything on my nose? Are they going to think I'm interesting, funny, or helpful? But then a lot of it also is just excitement because I just like it, versus you might not feel that way at all. You might not like speaking in front of people at all. And so in general, it's pretty much totally a fear response. But it isn't like you think you're going to die. It's not that kind of fear response. And another thing that I was thinking about having to do with writers specifically is there can be a certain fear of these people are going to be in charge of my writing life. I need to find an agent who will go to bat for me, send my books out, and help me get published. And so all of the agents out there in the whole world, like, they have control over my career, and I find that terrifying. Or maybe you're not thinking I find that terrifying, but you are thinking everybody else has all the control and I don't. Or, you go to a writer's conference and you pitch to editors and as well as agents. And then you're like, oh, all those people have all the control and I have none. And that can bring up a fear response, and a fear that you don't have any control over your writing career, only other people do. And these are the sorts of things that I think that we need to notice. How am I feeling about this? Because if I'm feeling fear of man, fear of other people, what they think, the power they do or don't have over me, politicians or really anyone in your life, if that's where your focus is, then it's going to make it a lot harder for you to trust other people, trust yourself, trust your own gut instinct on things. And of course, fear does push out the joy in our lives, which I really, really believe that more joy in our lives helps us to not only be, of course, happier. They're two different things, but joy, I think, does lead to a lot of happiness. But also it pushes out like all sorts of other positive emotions, gratitude and encouraging others and being excited about things. So my encouraging words for you today are, think about the different fear responses that you have, whether they're minor or major, whether they have to do with people or things out there in the world, whether they have to do with your writing career, your relationships, your work life, that sort of thing. There's an awful lot of things that are or can be used to be good and healthy responses and impeti are multiple impetuses and impeti. Anyway, things that can really be helpful to push us in the right direction. There we go. But we just need to think about it. Is this helpful? Or am I taking this too far, taking it too seriously? Am I not taking it seriously enough? If a whole bunch of people are telling me the same thing, whether it's this scene doesn't make sense to me, maybe there's something about the scene and it doesn't make sense to readers. It may well then need to be changed, right? Or, if a whole bunch of people sort of lead you to believe that you're kind of mean when you're in a certain mood, if you're tired or if you're drinking or something like that, then, that's something that when you get the same kind of response over and over again, it's something that we need to think about and ask ourselves, is there something I want to change about this? Change about how I act or react, change about how I wrote this scene, whatever it is. But definitely we want to keep in mind that sometimes fear does protect us, and that is a good thing. And sometimes it is just a snare, and we need to be careful not to get stuck in it, especially not to get stuck in it for a long time. So I hope that this gives you some ideas about things that you want to think about in your life, whether it's writing, relationships, work, or something else. And I hope that you find that it does kind of lead you to a more positive thought process about whatever it is that you're thinking about. It's helped me. There's some things going on that I'll tell you about more later that I'm like, I don't know if I'm afraid or excited, and I don't know what I should feel, afraid or excited. So yeah, it's helped me to think about it a little bit more today too. I hope you have a fabulous week, and we will talk to you more soon. See ya.